Million-Dollar Mailbox. One guess who? Who'd never ever start an argument? Who'd never show a bit of temperament? Who's never wrong but always right? Who'd never dream of starting a fight? Who's on your screen with the comic book scene? No one but Dan Shaheen.
Oh, hello, world. Welcome back to another $1 Million Mailbox. Larry, you hearing me okay? Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you hear me okay, Larry. Thank you. Okay. Just making sure our audio's in effect, guys. We've got so many improvements here in the $1 Million Mailbox studio. Oh, let's hope the richness of my dulcet tones will improve episode by episode, and as well as our amazing special effects here at the $1 Million studio, which are not working at all right now for whatever reason. So it's kind of bumming me out. Let me take us in here back into the $1 Million Mailbox. Today, I got a great show for you. Got Larry Young, Captain Fun himself, here in the studio. And we're going to be talking about, man, a couple of great things today. One, is this the end of the $1 Million Mailbox? Guys, the answer is no. Okay, I'm telling you right now, it ain't. What it is, the end of like my current round of submissions, with the exception of one. There's one submission that I lost, a single comic book, and I've reached out to the guy and apologized profusely. In a move, the issue got lost, and those will be coming back. So I do have more comics coming. It is not the end of the $1 Million Mailbox. That absolutely is clickbait. And it's absolutely worked because people have started reaching out already. Some people who've already sent stuff into the mailbox. Some people who've been meaning to for a long time have been reaching out. So we're going to see more stuff. And I promise you this. I'm going to make you this promise. Even if I never get a single other submission to the $1 Million Mailbox, I have so many freaking comics here. And most of mine technically come through that mailbox anyway. So I mail because I mail order them because I don't have many comic shopping opportunities. So I can expand the definition and still feel good about myself. And I will do that definitely. And you know who's going to help me, who's going to stay along with this thing is your pal, my pal, our pal, Captain Fun. Let's give it up right now for our good pal. Hey, Larry Young. What's happening, buddy?
Dan Shaheen, that was their clickbait article worked on me. I was hey, man, this isn't the end, right? Can I keep talking to you anyway? We'll talk about groceries or something. But yeah. So I fell for it too. That's what $1 Million Mailbox means to people, though. They want to hear it.
You know, not to as many people as I want, Larry, but what are you going to do, right? Like, it's pretty amazing. We got 2,500 subscribers or whatever here. Do I want more? Yes. Will I settle? Not settle. Will I be happy with what I've got and not change up just to try and get more people? Like, keep the people that came here and our subscribers happy and show them, keep doing what we've been doing, but maybe, you know, just spice it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I totally support you in that. Well, do what you can, but you know, people came here for a reason, right? And I love like not ever being satisfied, right? If like that's my whole personality. If one is good, two is better, right? I kind of pulled back from that as an older man, as a guy getting a little gray in the whiskers. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with wanting, you know, more. That's what. Yeah, I'm good.
Well, do me a favor out there in comic book land. Oh, dude, great suggestion. If we triple our views.
I swear to God, I almost stood up and I'm like, all right, it's time to show the Billy.
I just feel like we'd get tagged for like decency.
Yeah.
Algorithm.
Too much decency. Oh, look, another fat guy pulling his shirt up.
Well, anyway, guys, I want you to remember, though, the $1 Million Mailbox is still open to submission. So if you want to see your comics, what this means is a much faster access to the $1 Million Mailbox right now. So if you hurry up and send in your comics right now, you'll get it. And where do you send them to, Larry? Where should they send those comics?
Well, to P.O. Box 1163 in beautiful downtown Arcata, California. That's
It is beautiful.
They'll get it right to you. That's pretty, yeah, it's pretty country up there.
It's amazing. And it is downtown Arcata. That's where our post office is here in Arcata. It's like a Mayberry-esque town square.
It's like somebody stalked you on Google and found out all kinds of information just based on your post office box.
It's wild. It's wild. Oh, by the way, that shirtless comment from our pal Don Chin. Don Chin, we got to bring you back in here soon.
You can always count on Dan for some comedy jokes.
Hey Don, why don't you send us more comics? If you got more stuff in the pipeline, send me some stuff we can talk about it. Or even if you just have comics you want to talk about. You know what I love about Don Chin?
He was great in Hawaii 5-0.
There's a lot of things to love about Don. One of the things I would say I don't love is that he's an avowed comic skater. Like he's part of that. He claims that crew, but at the same time, I know Don is a good guy. He's a good person, and I've never seen anything hateful in any of his comics or anything like that. Well, I see just sort of a what do I see in Don's comics? I see just a goofiness that I love, right? So I love goofy. Don, you're always welcome here as long as you keep it goofy, buddy. Oh, he's working on some top secret projects.
My big ding against Don is he's a real estate mogul. I love his comics so much. He should do comics 24 hours a day. Leave that making money thing to the kids.
Well, let the Fed do a couple more interest rate hikes, and you just
right. He might.
It's happening as we speak, people.
Oh, man. I hope I didn't accidentally curse him.
Wait a minute. Speaking of happening, Larry, are you watching? Have you watched She-Hulk yet?
Well, yes. So you know what this is, right? Danger 5. It's an Australian show from about 10 years back.
I don't know that.
Yeah, it's making fun of all the awesome British 1970s show. Like they're just if they took James Bond, it gave him a crew and spent $20 an episode. It's just fantastic. Their boss is a full bird colonel, so he is a guy wearing the prisoner jacket with a giant eagle head.
Great,
right? Full bird colonel. Anyway, so I love funny, crazy shit where they break the fourth wall, and I love Tatiana Maslany because of Orphan Black and her 9,000 emails. So yes, I love John Byrne and the whole She-Hulk thing. Shulky. So like this entire show was just a no-brainer for me. I woke up this morning about 5:30 and went, right, why am I not watching She-Hulk right now? So I watched it on my phone as my family woke up, and I'm going to watch it again tonight because it was great.
Okay, what's your take on the backlash?
Well,
from the trailer, right? The trailer dropped, and it was instantaneous. Our pal Young Ripa put out a nice trailer put out a nice reaction video to it where he just said, I want to play it, but I'm not going to play it. He goes, the CGI, this is the CGI. That was his whole criticism, not like what was bad about it. Right. And frankly, having looked at it, it is the best CGI, like fully CGI character ever done on TV, in my opinion. Like it is completely integrated.
Yeah, there's nothing to disagree with. My take on it is every single person who had a ding against this show before it came out is an idiot. If this was my show, I would call them assholes because you're judging something. It's like going, on paper, I should really like Frosted Flakes, but I've read the ingredients on the box and it's not for me. Well, you're not getting the whole experience, man. So judging something off the trailer, we kind of talked about this before the show, that the 2008 Iron Man trailer, the CG sucked balls, right? But you could see what they were doing. So they were like, oh, well, they're just... And in 2008, everybody went, that doesn't look that great, but I'm sure they'll fix it before the movie comes out. And for some reason, no one has that thought now. Like, trailers are by definition something that comes out before the thing's done to get you excited about it. So like saying this is there's never been a perfect trailer. I mean, the first the first Iron Man trailer, I think we were talking about that.
Yeah.
Like a 9 Inch Nails song on it, right? Like it's like a common thing that you just the one that killed me was do you know the movie The Big Hit with Marky Mark and
Yeah.
some other cats?
I never
Man, I
saw it.
love that movie, and I went to go see it because the trailer was genius. They were using a Wyclef Jean Fugees song under the trailer. It doesn't appear in the movie, so I'm waiting the whole movie for that needle drop, and it didn't happen. And I was like, "Oh, that's right," because that's something they cleared for the teaser, right? So then so just that alone, I don't know when that movie came out, 94, 96, something like that. That right there is when I went, you can't, trailers are not meant to be dissected. They're meant to be consumed. It's like doing a 4-star restaurant review on like some ding dongs, right? You can bring all that to the experience, but that's inappropriate, right? So
I think there's a danger.
Whatever.
I think there's a danger to dropping like pre-release effects if it damages like the impression of the movie. But I saw that same trailer, and I just didn't understand what anybody was trying to denigrate. Like I didn't go rewatch it and compare them, but like now that I've seen the show, that's what you can criticize, and it's almost flawless. They did some really amazing shots in this thing.
I agree with you that maybe you should keep CG like out of the trailers if you can, but that's the whole conceit of this character, right? Like that she's a CG character.
They had no choice.
So I just figured, okay, they didn't spend the time rendering it like they're going to for the final product. Like what? Some of this stuff that the fanboys do just flabbergast me. I do not understand. Like, oh, well, there's a girl hunting a predator and she won. Like, yeah, I know. Have you seen Aliens? I mean, have you seen Terminator? Like, Sarah Connor was a diner waitress. You can't
those are just Cameron is a social justice warrior along with Ridley Scott. They're just trying to feminize our society to blah blah blah. Ridiculous,
I guess.
Wait, Larry, let's take a look. I brought in let's dive into the mailbox, shall we? And
yeah. Let's. What are we here for, right?
Well, because I've actually got. Am I echoing a little bit? Are you hearing a little bit of echo?
You sound great to me, man. And frankly, your beard looks really good too.
Oh, why? Thank you, pal.
I have some high beard opinions, as you know.
I know.
You're looking sharp as shit. And that microphone, holy crap. That was a good.
I got to get it figured out because look at this. Wait a minute. I bought it and it broke within 5 seconds.
Well,
and now there's gaffer's tape on it. It's embarrassing, frankly. It's not up to young Ripa standards, I'll tell you that.
Well, and neither are your good opinions.
Well, I'm a leftist, right? Yeah, I can't remember. Man, what is going on here with my keyboard shortcuts have abandoned me. Oh my God, this is a nightmare to do this way. Okay. I brought a couple things to the table today. I thought since we're talking about She-Hulk, let's take a look at it. But and then we'll dive into this Violent New World by Michael Cortez. Go back to the mini cam here. There we go. Because it was it's another one of those ones that I got. I expected sort of one thing and got something totally delightful and
I love that cover.
The other thing that I got that was delightful and unexpected was my first ever t-shirt sent into the mailbox from Michael, who sent me this. It's just kind of a logo on a white t-shirt, but very appropriate. Maybe under my Pendleton. If I wore this Pendleton button just at the top, I could actually be accused of cultural appropriation. It's happened before.
Wearing layers isn't cultural appropriation in Northern California. That's just common sense and, sound, whatever Kevin Camarley says. Sound business decision? I don't know.
So I pulled this guy out of the dollar bin, I think, in my local store fairly recently. And it just reminded me of what a genius John Byrne is.
Yeah, man. We talk about that Elsewin thing he's doing now. That guy's 108 years old. And Frank Miller just dropped a cover of the thing that looks like I drew it with a Sharpie stuck up my butt and wiggled over the paper. So you can't say you're old and losing your line, because John Byrne has still got it humming.
I'm saying Neil Adams was pushing out great work up till his deathbed, really.
Yeah. But I think John Byrne's She-Hulk and his FF are probably my favorite works of his. I think I'm on record that Alpha Flight 1 through 12 is the best first year in comics ever. But just fully servicing to everybody all the time, it's the She-Hulk and FF. I love it.
Those were FF. His run on FF is second only to Stan and Jack.
Yeah,
I have to say,
and
superior in many ways as far as modern day readability.
Yeah,
like if I was going to choose one run to give to a modern person to want to read Fantastic Four and really get the essence of it, it's going to be Johnny's run. It's probably not going to be those weird first few issues of FF. Sorry to say.
I totally agree. I don't even say that anymore, right? Because I think 100% John Byrne's run is better than Stan and Jack's, but that doesn't exist without Stan and Jack. So
that's right.
I always give the guys who originated the concept the credit, but I really feel like, Bob Dylan to Jimi Hendrix, like, no, that you're right. That's the way I should have played my song, right?
Well,
and he started playing it that way.
And Jazzy John, though, had all that amazing 100-issue run or whatever Stan and Jack did. And my good friend, the late, great J.K. McGill, owner of Mike's Coliseum, which became Hijinks Comics, used to talk about, man, if you just took any one run of comics and you just look at the ideas that Jack Kirby put out, Stan and Jack, but really it was Jack. In those 100 issues alone, when you get Wakanda, when you get Silver Surfer, you get Galactus, you get the Eternals, you get the Inhumans, you get the Skrulls and and so many more things that I'm not even mentioning, like amazing font of creativity in that run.
That's why I'm super glad that Marvel Studios got the FF back, because I don't know anything about their contract, but if it was like the Sony Spider-Man contract, you get a lot of shit from the Fantastic Four family. Like, the only one that I think that got called out was Namor was a Universal joint, because they were going to do something with a TV show. But everything else is like, that's all. And even then, it's like the brilliance of it is just Jack dropping stuff left and right, and Stan like eating a sandwich with one hand and going, all right, I guess Galactus has got some kind of herald now, and like, just imagine that, like, okay, and I'm going to write some shit to get it to the printer. And it just like, it's brilliant over and over and over and over, and is the foundation of the entire thing. So yeah, man.
And Jack's or Stan's scripting of that stuff is not to denigrate it, is probably the worst part.
Yeah. But my son and I are talking about Marvel style scripting, and I think you sort of are hamstrung as a writer afterwards, because you only have two choices, right? You have to you look at a thing of Jack Kirby having Captain America pull his boots on, and then you have to have a caption going, as Cap pulls his boots on, he's thinking about the Red Skull, right?
Yeah.
Or you just go the opposite and say, eagles are the, official bird of America, and that's why Cap's ears, you know what I mean? Like, you either have to address it completely or say something different. And either way, that's hard to do when you're trying to tell a straightforward narrative, right? And that's why I think Stan is just all over the place, because who knows when he was writing the lettering copy, right? Because that's what Marvel style is. You're just writing the lettering script, right?
Yeah,
right. I was telling my kid, it's like he does a complete outline, gives it to the artist, and then writes what he gets back. It's a time saving thing, because ordinarily the writer would write it and call out stuff, and the artist would do something. And then you have to do a lettering script because sometimes, like, oh, you forgot to draw the clock that is important 3 pages later or something, so you have to like adjust it. And Stan just went to the adjustment script. So on the one hand, that's amazing. But on the other hand, you're not getting above a B- on your writing.
True, but Stan's genius in that method was you can't pull that method off with somebody brand new off the street. You got to have vets. You got to have dudes that have storytelling in their DNA, and just let them loose on the storytelling.
Sure.
Give them an idea. Jack's gonna go nuts with it, and then I could go in and kind of make it, add some like ridiculously corny, already out of date cultural references, terrible slang.
Yeah.
Well, so anyway, so John, though, on She-Hulk, what is amazing about this book, and I'm with you, and as far as its importance, and I maybe even put it a notch above Fantastic Four in a way, because he went nuts with it. He did something nobody else was doing. Fourth wall breaking to the ultimate degree, really, in this book. They barely hint at the level of fourth wall breaking in the TV show that's going on. She's calling out. Jen is calling out. I found a one page here. Where was it? She's calling out John Byrne's name.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, Byrne, what are you doing to me over? Yeah, here it is. Toadmen, Byrne. Toadmen. Right. And he made it a point to bring in all the craziest, weirdest, most obscure things from Marvel that he loved, but were no longer in vogue, even in that time, late 80s, early 90s, whatever this was. He's like, I don't care. I can put it in this comedic context now where anything goes, but still treat it not like a goofy, but treat it with all the seriousness and skill that he brought to bear on something like Fantastic Four or Alpha Flight. It's amazing.
That's what I actually loved about the TV show. People probably haven't seen it like us yet, but they did actually have this thing in one of the trailers, so I'm kind of not revealing anything.
Right.
Where the Hulk says something and she's like, "Oh, he doesn't think that," and then turns and looks at the camera, and then so does Banner. Like, but he's like, "Oh, what's that?" And she's kind of smiling, and it's like this weird, like, outtake from The Office where she just does in acting, and it's not. I mean, I'm sure it's her, right? They have to be doing motion capture on her face to animate that stuff, but she has this look like, "Oh yeah, these guys have been here all along, and only I can see them," right? And then Banner kind of gets it, but Banner kind of looks but it doesn't really register, right? He's like, something's going on, but that's not for me. I'm a character in the show. And she's like, I am in and of the show, which I always love those characters. Like Han Solo in Star Wars, he's having a completely different life until they meet him at the bar, right? And like, there's always a character like that in some show that you like outside Dave and New Girl. And Spock kind of in Star Trek. He's the guy who comes in and like comments on everything. Spock was really part of the DNA of that show, but still, it's the same idea. And I love that She-Hulk is both of the characters. She's the star and the one that comments on stuff. And they did it so subtle. I'm like, oh, it's like all these guys going, that show is gonna suck. She's a woman. I'm like, dude, this is gonna be your favorite show when you finish watching the first one.
They took they gave it the feel of Ally McBeal, to be honest. Like they used that, I think, to translate She-Hulk to television, and it worked. And I think that show probably had an effect on like Dan Slott and his later run on She-Hulk, which this is in a way closer to. They sort of shortcutted us to modern day She-Hulk and skipping that whole Savage She-Hulk period and all that stuff, and got us right into modern day. She's a lawyer to the superheroes or to the superstars.
Man, I loved how they handled that too. Like she's a lawyer. Her best friend knows that she's the She-Hulk. Oh wait, 3 months earlier. That's perfect. Like it's such an easy thing to screw up, and they did it so effortlessly. And in my case, as an audience member, it is 100% how much goodwill Tatiana Maslany has served up from that Orphan Black show. Holy crap, man. She played 17 different versions of the same character. And they hung that entire show. If you even just watch the pilot, they hang the entire show on that you have to believe she's 3 different people. And she does it
I haven't seen
effortlessly.
it.
And she was like 24, 26. I'm like, how do you get these actors with that kind of gravitas? It's insane. But
okay, speaking of effortlessly, let's go into the hardcore right wing commentary section of the show. As you know, we're pivoting to be a hardcore like conservative show. I didn't tell you, you didn't get the memo, but Larry, let me play the part for a moment, if you will.
I'm a little reticent being the one white guy here.
Well, you can be the Combs to my Hannity, okay? You can be the simpering, effete San Francisco liberal to my hardcore salt of the earth rural country Dan. I mean,
it's typecasting, but I'll roll with it.
So wait a minute. So Jen Walters can just instantaneously, she's got all this control that Bruce Banner never did, and just because what? Because she's a woman? What's going on with this, Larry?
Well,
I think that's wrong. That's just reverse sexism, right?
I love that they kind of address that in the show, because one of my favorite lines in the Avengers is like, "Do you want to know my secret, Captain? I'm always angry." And he turns into the Hulk, and you're like, "Okay, that's a really good insight into the Hulk." And they kind of play on that she's like the Banner can't believe it. It's like, it took me 15 years to integrate my 2 sides, and she's like, no, like every woman has to integrate her 2 sides because they get catcalls and they get, people just dismissing them and all kinds of crap. And she's like, I'm always angry about this. This is effortless to me. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. I like it.
I think it was a nice touch. And you could say maybe also that men having more testosterone or whatever are just more prone towards anger in a way that maybe would be uncontrollable in a man as opposed to a woman. But I don't think that's what's going on. I don't think that's what's going on here.
I think they were saying that women have it so rough and you fucking fanboys don't even understand. And so the one time that the women are going to come into your fanboy world, they have it all figured out already because you've been shitting on them on the real world. So your adolescent power. And then plus, I mean, you can't go wrong with a giant green girl, right? I mean, like, yeah, talk about adolescent power fantasies. Like, you're a dad, you know this, like you're taking your kid around in a baby carriage or something. Don't you have that thought every walk? Man, wouldn't that be cool if there was just some giant person wheeling me around here and I could just eat Cheetos and throw my shoes out and just be all warm and snuggly? Like, so, I mean, that's kind of She-Hulk. They showed a couple scenes where she's just carrying some dude off to her bed. And you're like, I kind of see how that would happen.
Well, so I feel like that was in that moment, sort of her facile almost explanation and the sort of show's facile explanation of what's going on. But I honestly think it's something that they haven't really dealt with much in the Marvel movies as far as the Hulk. But it's just that the problem is just Bruce Banner is a broken man, right? And he is he has such psychological scarring. And if you go by the comics, it's from the childhood abuse by his father, right? And that's something they have never even touched on.
Yeah.
But is central to Peter David's run on the Hulk and really core to when he became the smart Hulk and and the identity started shifting around, he became the gray Hulk. He really is like a multiple personality schizophrenic or whatever you want to call it. He's a broken person. That's what makes the Hulk what he is.
Sure, I totally agree. But like, Peter David wrote that for 12 years. You gotta give him something, right? I personally think, it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like most people feel that way, right?
Yeah, I think that was the original intent of the Hulk for sure.
No, I just mean like in the audience members, right? I mean, like you get that, sometimes you have your shit under control and sometimes you don't. And I think that at least in my lifetime, women haven't had that luxury to be able to pop off, right? They have their stuff under control 100% of the time. So I think it's actually interesting they even called it out, because it's so obvious to me, right? Yeah, she's always angry. It's just about different things. And I loved, man, the touches that they did stuff like that, because you know that famous thing that Ginger Rogers did all the same dancing as Fred Astaire. She just did it backwards and in high heels, which kind of makes you think that women really do have to do everything 110% that men do. And I just love that they kind of addressed that when her, I forget the actress's name. It's like Gina something. She was in this great show called Wrecked that I really like. It was a parody of Lost. Anyway, she's playing her best friend, and she's like, "Come on, man, just Hulk out, take care of this." And then she goes, "Shoes," and she's like, "Oh yeah, because you don't want to ruin your expensive shoes, right?" Like they never did that with the Hulk. He doesn't care. It's spandex is your best friend. That's where he's at after 15 years, right? But a woman is going to be like, no, I had to work really hard to buy these expensive shoes, and they make my feet look good. And then she's still like, I have to save the world, that her friend has to tell her, you know? And I'm like, I just was so glad they didn't give that to the gay best friend, because that's a line that usually on a lesser sitcom. But no, it was her buddy. Like, look it out for her. I was like, she's Rick Jones. I'm never gonna learn that character's name, because I'm just gonna think she's Rick Jones.
Well, I thought overall everything landed for me. It was very good. I thought CGI wise, amazing. The worst CGI criticism I have was for the floating hot Cheetos in the car scene. Seemed a little bit off to me.
As they were flipping, yeah.
That's the
I don't
worst,
know.
worst that I've got.
I was so impressed with the whole like eating Cheetos with chopsticks thing. I was like, that's something out of somebody's life. One of the writers or producers or something.
And
somebody
spoiler alert, the last scene where we get a little super villain-ish battle, I thought was a little cheesy, but and cut to the chase in a way, but for comedic purpose. So it absolutely worked.
I think I think the thing that's going to frustrate your average fanboy about this show is that it's so completely self-aware. Like, the reason they did that cheesy thing is because what's her name? Agil, whatever, from The Good Place. She's playing Tatiana, the main bad guy of the entire show. So that she's in it for 15 seconds and dealt with right away isn't a criticism, right? Because that's going to show up later. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm giving this one a solid watch. I know my wife's going to love it. Dude, when they start bringing up evidence-based trauma therapy and they got so specific on all these terms. Clear Hulk is in therapy or has been in so much therapy and going through this stuff. I think I'm just going to make a prediction that we're in maybe in the first season that we're going to have a breakthrough for the Hulk and he's going to uncover some of these repressed memories. And I don't know if they want to go that dark in Disney with that Hulk character who's very, very popular with kids, little kids especially. So I don't question.
I don't think the Hulk is going to be in it that much. I don't. I think this might even be it, right? Because the show's about her, and we know Daredevil's in it. So, you know,
Hulk will return. That's my prediction, Larry. That's my prediction.
Maybe once at the end, like, you know, for a funny,
by the end,
what I miss kind of joke, you know. I don't know.
By the end,
I don't know. I'm looking forward to everything that Marvel does now. I don't even see why people have any criticisms. Like Marvel, you know, it's all your criticisms are taste based. Like, I didn't really dig on Doctor Strange 2 because I don't like Sam Raimi movies. That doesn't mean it was a shitty movie. Doesn't mean like, you know, oh, the makeup is shitty. No, I don't like zombie shit. So that, I think any criticism you have is 100% based on your own biases, because this is an A+ show. It's just A+.
I got to give Raimi more credit though, Larry, for Spider-Man 1. Without that success, I don't know that we where
I
we
like
are.
Sam Raimi movies. It's that's cool. It's like, my wife cannot eat anchovies on pepperoni pizza. That's
Fair enough.
cool.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Your wife's ridiculous. Then I used to have a
She
lot more respect.
she loves Hawaiian pizza. It's insane. She doesn't even eat pizza with us anymore. She gets like some kind of Indian tandoori thing that our pizza place makes. It's really good, but it's like, come on, we're having pizza. But that's why my wife weighs 100 pounds less than I do.
So there was this moment in the 90s, right, when comics, both Marvel and DC, I don't remember if the Justice League was running concurrently, Maguire's Justice League, where they just lapsed. They just decided they could just go full on. This is a humor book, but with top-notch superhero artists and writers still, and fun, engaging stories. They just were way more able to lean back into the campy side during an era that was, fairly dominated by grim and gritty stuff. I thought this was an amazing pivot by Byrne and a tremendous.
If I remember right, reading like, what was that David Anthony Kraft book, Comics Reader, Comics Insider,
Comics Buyer's Guide.
No, that was
Amazing Heroes.
Amazing Heroes. I remember reading Amazing Heroes at the time, that Byrne really liked the assistant editors month, and just like, broached it to somebody and said, why don't we just do this all the time? It was fun. And somebody went, yeah, if anybody can make that book sell, it's John Byrne, right? So I'm pretty sure that's where this all came from. But it's brilliant.
She-Hulk was like a joke character almost. Well, no, I take it back. Byrne brought her back originally by pulling her into the Fantastic Four as a thing replacement in one of the all-time great character swap moves that I hope we're in for in the movies now. Like, I see that as an inevitability now, right?
I would have started this episode with whatever John Krasinski was wearing in Doctor Strange 2 and just not even mentioned it. Like, just if you are watching a show called The She-Hulk and you have sought out Disney Plus as a standalone streaming service for all that shit, you know why she's in a Fantastic Four uniform. And if you don't, it doesn't matter, right? That's going to be something that's coming up that you haven't seen yet. Like, you wouldn't even have to explain it. But I think that's such a genius idea that she looks wrong to me when she's not wearing the John Byrne white belt version of their things. Anyway, that's going to be a happy day in my house when Tatiana Maslany is walking around in an FF uniform.
But
in fact, I have some pictures I've drawn here.
You're making me remember, though, the biggest difference between the Byrne run and what we're seeing on the show right now was that, so She-Hulk was in FF and then had her own graphic novel. Do you remember that graphic novel?
I do, yeah.
Right? And there were radioactive cockroaches on the SHIELD helicarrier.
Yes.
And it was the fallout from that left her locked permanently in her She-Hulk form. And she just decided she was A-okay with that and abandoned the Jen Walters identity altogether. And that was in this book. Like, she was never Jen Walters in the original John Byrne run.
Right. Yeah. I don't think you can do that for the show, right? Because then it doesn't matter who you're screen grabbing their facial expressions, right? If you're hiring Tatiana Maslany, who has, no kidding, she got like 4 acting Emmys for that Orphan Black, and that's no joke. Because an acting Emmy on a science fiction show, come on, you have to be amazing, and she was. But so I don't think that they're not. I think part of the appeal of the character is that, she's the Hulk, except got her shit under control, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be the audience in for the housewives and other kids.
Certainly for this season and maybe even for the whole series, but they've got room to go there and explore all the different aspects of.
I got a feeling we're going to see her in the next iteration of the Avengers, right? I mean,
I think
it's just too good a character. I did say on my Facebook, fooling around with Saga or somebody, that like I can't wait until she meets Deadpool in the middle of a Avengers fight, and because what are they gonna do, right?
I didn't even think about that. That would
They're
be great.
just gonna both talk to the camera. I don't know. Or you know, the joke I'd write is I'd say She-Hulk and be like, oh, Deadpool, yeah, you were talking to me in the middle of that, you know, fight with Colossus or something. That was great. You know, make some, I don't know, something like that. But it's going to be weird having two characters that break the fourth wall.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. I'd like to see
It
how
is. It is.
Speaking
like
of
the
exciting,
weird.
Larry, I got to pivot away from corporate comics now. For even though they're old, genre-bending works by great masters, it's time we got to pivot into the new generation. So let me just play this real quick. Stand by.
Who's in the $1 Million Mailbox? One guess who? Who'd never ever start an argument? Who'd never show a bit of temperament? Who's never wrong but always right? Who'd never dream of starting a fight? Who's on your screen with the comic book scene? No one but Dan Shaheen.
Nobody but Dan Shane and Larry Young, of course.
Man, I love that song. I should rip the audio from YouTube so I can listen to it in my car every once in a while.
I'll send you the MP3. I'll send you the raw
raw.
tracks of the background vocals and the foreground and the accordion. I mixed it together myself. I hired Romanians to sing this thing.
That's the secret. Once you hire the Romanians, it's going to be good, right?
Well, speaking
anyway,
of,
tell me about this, man. This is great. I love the cover already,
dude. This is A Violent New World by Michael Cortez. Okay, and I wish I could do this the way I want to do it. Hang on a second. Yeah, I can do that still. Great. Okay, this was an amazing comic that I just finished reading right now. I started it a while back, but I just finished it right before the show, like I usually do, because I want it to be very fresh in my mind. And so this is a look at basically the Mexican American mafia. And let me go back to this size. And it's just sort of a very long, couple hundred pages, exploring various aspects of this community in a way I just did not expect at all. Like with this really does, for this type of story, almost what Sopranos almost does for the Italian mob, and certainly what other mob movies like even The Godfather and other, as far as humanizing the criminals, no, they're criminals. These guys are murderers and drug dealers.
Oh no, they're criminals.
These guys are pimps and prostitutes and murderers, right? Yet there's a humanity and there's a struggle there as they navigate. There's a lot of talk about what's going on in their community. There's a struggle of a major character, like whether to stay in the mob or like go to college, and has this moment where like he makes the decision to go to college and is just surrounded by just this spoiled wealth and opulence of all the students around him that it sickens him. Like he's just not used to people talking about taking trips to Paris and France and stuff. This is something that deals with like the real like ethnic divide and economic divide, I should say, in our community today, that often lies along ethnic lines. The storytelling. Okay, I think this artist, their storytelling is top notch. Like all the choices of panel layouts and flow of the story work for me 100%. And very unconventional stuff. Like, you don't expect a character like this with all these tats and who's kind of like a gang member. Like, he has a colonoscopy in this book. And he has a conversation about the medicine he's got to take. And I really thought they were setting it up for him to have cancer or something like that. But honestly, it didn't. But
Just
the
didn't, yeah.
conversation that played out with him where he's like, well, I'm 40 now, and the doctor says you got to do this. We can get rid of cancer. And the other guy's like, you're fine. You don't need to go. And ultimately he does go and goes through. It's just something I didn't expect in a book like this, right?
Yeah. I love just the format. It looks like it's a little smaller than when you had it up next to the She-Hulk. Looked like about 6x9 or so. But so when you have a story that's thematically like this, that's pretty dark, it's really cool to do the black frame around the artwork, because it adds like a little, it's not 100% claustrophobia, but it adds sort of like, atmosphere and portent, like something's going on. That it's just such a simple thing, graphic designing, but it really works. And
death is looming, darkness is looming,
storm's
all the
coming
time in the story, figuratively in the story as well. I love this kind of pulling of Mexican American like tattoo culture and gang culture and stuff that's extremely rich and extremely like exploited and copied even by mainstream society. I don't know whether that's good or bad necessarily, but there's a lot of Mexican cultural appropriation out there that exploits the richness of their culture. And they're a very family-oriented culture, very religious culture, and all those things, and a very like artistic culture as well. And the way those things intersect with an extremely violent gang culture is just, it's a really engaging and gripping book to read. I tore through it.
I keep going back to the cover. Like everything that you're saying about this, you can tell in the cover.
Totally.
It's like, but also the title, right? Like, I don't know if you're watching on Hulu, there's a show called This Fool. It kind of isn't set in this world, but it's a comedy, right? So like the colonoscopy thing would be like an entire episode, and it would be played for laughs, right? But I saw this and I was like, oh, you know what? I just saw this world of, South Central or whatever, but this is obviously not being played for laughs. And then you flip through it and I was like, that's so cool when an independent book has on the cover just the perfect illustration to choose the thematic stuff and tone of the book. That cover looks so simple, but it's doing a lot of work for the copy. And that's
totally, dude. Yeah. Well, this character in the middle, the sort of gang patriarch, there's a lot of themes going through it, and he talks about how when he was young, and he went to go meet the father of this girlfriend, and the father like slapped his hand for eating before they prayed or whatever, and he just slapped the father and sort of dominated him and dominated the whole room. And this was like something that they really respect in this culture. And there's this interplay. There's a lot of almost like, what was the Pacino movie? The De Niro movie. Was it A Bronx Tale, where he's the bus driver? And anyway, he's not the gangster for once in that movie. Anyway, there's a lot of interplay with that among like, hardworking Mexican families trying to keep their daughters out of prostitution and try and keep their kids on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, this culture that's sort of like the youth are growing up not respecting that and only respecting, what they're taught to respect in our society, which is money.
Right. Well, yeah.
So this is, I'm going to call it, wait a minute. I'm going to make one of my famous combinations. This is American Me meets Stray Bullets, David Lapham. I felt Lapham throughout this whole thing, but not in a derivative way, just in a way that we had sort of real people and personalities engaged in this, kind of hyper violent kind of crime scenario.
I wonder how many kids know about stray bullets.
Not enough.
Just, it's so funny. Like, comics just move so fast. I went into comics experience with my kid on Thursday, or I don't know when, last Thursday maybe. But there's just like, I don't know anybody doing comics on the new this week rack anymore. Like, or they're all like waste products from War and Ellis's Forum, like Kieran Gillian or Chip Zdarsky. It's like, I don't need a Chip Zdarsky Spider-Man. I don't know.
What I love
So I love stuff like this, but it's like, I wonder if this was actually outwardly influenced. I mean, I get a little, not in a
I don't know
way, but I get a little Edward Russo off of this guy's art.
What I've seen is a little bit of even manga influence. I think everybody is a little bit manga influence today, but just these sort of the shots,
page layouts, yeah, definitely.
Well, where they go, where there's shots where it's aspect to aspect, it's not driving. There's not a continuity between panels. I'm getting all McCloudian on you. Aspect to aspect panel transitions are a hallmark of manga, as far as them being like this, right?
Yeah,
As far as McLeod charted out the transitions, and he's like, manga's way higher in these cut types where it's not this frame, then this frame, then this frame, then this frame. It's just different aspects of the same thing meant to give you a feeling about what's going on, which I love.
Yeah, that's 100% cinematic storytelling, though. Like Western versus, the rest of the world.
Which is great. Like he's not afraid to let the pages breathe. Several pages with, and then on the pages where there is dialogue, Larry, the lettering is, they did it right. And there's not, I think the word count per panel totally worked for me. I never had a moment where I was like, oh, this is way out of whack, too much exposition.
Right.
If anything, sometimes, and then he has this sort of like chapter end pieces that add some richness, almost like a Watchmen back matter stuff that, man, really, really lends a lot. I'm really happy that I got this. I'm happy that that Michael Cortez found this show and sent this in, and also sent me a nice t-shirt. I'm pretty sure this was from him. It's hard for me to see the connection between the two. It's sort of there.
Maybe it's just a piece of his art on a shirt.
Yeah. But anyway, I really appreciate it. I agree. Wait a minute. We got some comments from the people. Maybe they didn't. No, not the end. No, it's not the end, guys. It's really not. You can make this not the end. Daniel Moeller, you could do this thing. You could make it not the end by sending in some more of your wonderful Psychonaut Presents comics. And you might say, Dan, you supported them. You talked about it so well. Why haven't you bought any of those Psychonaut Presents comics? So I'm a thrifty man, Larry. I don't know what I can say. Uncle Scrooge is my role model. No, but seriously, there's so many projects out there that are deserving of commentary. I wish I could support them all. And more importantly, I wish I just had access to them all at a local comic book store where I could put my hands on them and touch them. I have a real problem with supporting Kickstarter sometimes because I've been really disappointed by what the end result is versus what I was hoping it might be. You know what I mean?
I do. I don't support Kickstarter stuff at all. I did once. I bought the collection of Monkey's Name is Jennifer from Ken Knutson because I knew it was done and I wanted it collected in one spot, and it was worth me flowing him $100 for the book and a piece of art for my kid because my kid is a giant fan of his art. So, but I have a real problem with paying for something that doesn't exist yet. I buy Kickstarter stuff all the time, but it has to be like you've sent it to your people already, and this is one that you have kicking around, and I'll give you money. I'm just not waiting 6 months or whatever for something that I know. Like the other one is when established professionals do stuff. They're like, I need $30,000 to make this book. It's like, no, you don't. You need $4,000 to make that book. And the
Totally.
rest of it is screwing your friends. So I just there's no quality control for me on crowdsourced stuff. So if I like it, unless you're Ken Knudsen, who pronounces that K, I'm doing that right. Yeah, it's give me the opportunity to buy it when it's over. That's all.
I tend to favor reprint projects when I see Kickstarter because oh yeah, there's that thing that I need back in print that would like is too niche to ever.
Yeah,
get
no, that's cool. I totally get that. I mean, that's kind of what my monkey's name is Jennifer was, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Like, yeah, I get to have it all in one place. That's cool. And I know the guy who's doing it. That's great. And, you know, but just the whole, I don't respond to the whole, like, you know, if somebody just went, okay, we need to crowdfund this book. It's $12.95 or $20, say, and that's that. This whole thing, like, here's a sticker and here's a t-shirt. It's all bullshit. I don't want any of that shit. I want the book. Like, do you have the book? Well, wake me up when you have the book. Right? That's where I'm at.
Let me
And
ask
I know
you,
lots of people make it work. It's just not for me.
okay, what's the most Larry Young in 2022 today, middle of inflation and everything, right? What's the most you're willing to pay for, let's say, like a 100-page graphic novel, like, or a 96-page perfect bound thing?
See, I'm not your guy for that because I think I make my choice based on what's going on. Like I said, I was just at Comics Experience. I have this giant authors thing of Brian Boland's stuff from 20 AD. I didn't even ask how much it was. It ended up being $125. Okay, I want this, so it doesn't matter to me what the price point. But if it was from someone that I didn't know, just kind of like sounded good, you know, and it looked all right, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you. 100-page, 96-page book because it's multiples of 8. I don't know, $20. Like you start getting more than that, and it's like, well, how come I've never heard of you then if it's that good? That it's a $25 or $35 graphic novel, right?
Because I think like a 100-page perfect or a 96-page perfect bound from Marvel or DC right now is probably north of $9.99 on the, you know, on the shelf. So
Yeah.
I think I'd be willing to pay up to 20, but maybe then plus shipping and you start getting. But a lot of these Kickstarters out there, that's what I find really crazy is how out of whack with market prices they are. And I guess it's working for their creators. Though.
It's because everybody answers that question a little differently. Like the guy, the guy you've heard of that needs $30,000 for his book is just trying to replace his Marvel or DC page rate, right? Which is perfectly valid, but that's not my problem as an audience member, right? Like, so, you know, I don't know. It's a tough one, right? I mean, I'm glad people who use this have this available to them, but it's just not for me from doing it or supporting it. It's just not.
I thought you were Captain Fun. Where'd Captain Fun go? Captain Buzzkill just flew.
I just have my fun in other places, right? I mean, like I spent 10 minutes telling you about Australian comedy show that like no one's heard of.
We'll call you Captain Windsuck. How about that?
It's not that. It's just some stuff just I don't get, and I don't get crowdsourcing stuff. If somehow Bank of America or somebody had figured out micropayments in the mid 90s, I don't even think this would have happened. I think you could have figured out a way to say, you know, hey, I did a mini comic, like, okay, here's $1, and then those people start getting famous. Then all of a sudden you're like Matt Wagner doing the Kamiko special that had Grendel in it. Like it kind of didn't matter that he wasn't a professional yet because his story was so good and it was coming off the page that like I'm putting down this story even though I understand that I am not a professional artist yet. You know?
That happens, right? It happens.
That happens. And so if that happened in some kind of web comic or mini comic thing where
It happens.
I have no problem with that at all. That's awesome. But like somebody going, I don't know. You get pillowcases and stickers and branded toothpaste and shit when all I want is the $9.95 comic. It's just you're doing a lot of work for no reason with me. I just want to see the comic. Like, did you do the job? Okay, right on.
I think the model though of building a community and a fan base and having a Patreon and that kind of stuff in support of, so that you don't have to seek out gigs or whatever. I think it's where we're gonna move though. I think that's where the things are starting to move, maybe in comics before we see it. It's not going to happen in film for a while, but I think it is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think you're right. I don't get how that works. That's all.
Well, let's say somebody like, I'll pick a name. I don't know. Say David Lynch even, or maybe Ridley Scott or whatever. Guy who's got a track record, who's created amazing things that we all love. If they came out today and said, look, the studios will not make this picture that I want to make. It's my passion picture. It's my dream. I've always wanted to do it. You know what I'm capable of. How much money do you think somebody like that? I feel like the sky is the limit. They could raise a lot.
I mean, they probably could, but like, I don't care. It's like these guys with new Star Trek talking about, like, here's all the cool stuff we're going to do. I don't care. Show me in the episode. Right? it's I get how the world is like that now, but I think that's a little crass, right? Okay. That's all. That's all.
Speaking of Star Trek, Larry, what are you doing tomorrow at noon?
Tomorrow at noon on the internet?
Yeah,
I'm talking about Star Trek with Dantron and Dr. Johnny Price, PhD.
That's great. I haven't come up with a thumbnail yet or any kind of Star Trek based pun for the episode name, so I might need your help. Anybody out there, doesn't have to be specific to a specific show or episode. Any Star Trek pun, Star Trek related pun, the worse the better. Bring them on, because I'm running out of them. I need one for our show tomorrow, Larry.
I'll see what I can do. I'm looking forward to this one because we just my kid and I are doing a website, Dorkcourt, and we have all of the serious Star Trek things on its own page. So now you can go through and see all of your cool puns archived for history.
Well, give me that URL tomorrow. We'll make sure to flash it on the screen, and we're going to drive. I'm going to say dozens of clicks to your website. I'm just going to say that. Okay.
All right. Sounds good, Dan.
All right.
I got to pick out my Star Trek uniform for tomorrow. Which one? What size T-shirt did you get there? I got some T-shirts for you. You
extra large. I'm an extra large.
Extra. Whatever I got laying around.
Whatever you got. I'll wear a large.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right. Larry,
all right, Dan. Awesome show.
I got to get out of here. I'm going to play. What am I going to play? Some closing credits. And maybe I'll do a little cameo thing at the end.
I'm sorry I bummed everybody out about Kickstarter.
You really deflated the entire.
Let me give you a hug.
I put my life into this thing, and the old salty man of the sea over here is kind of. It's got to destroy my hopes and dreams. Anyway, you guys can keep my hopes and dreams alive though by clicking like on this video. For heaven's sake, if you're not a subscriber to this channel and you're watching me talk right now and you've watched this for 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 12 seconds now, please do me the favor of subscribing to this channel. Our subscriber growth is not shrinking, but it ain't growing at the rate that I think it should. Quality shows with this kind of production values and these kind of hot takes from guys like Captain Fun, this doesn't just happen. This show doesn't just fall out of the sky. I got to produce this thing. So please do me a favor. Give me that positive feedback or negative feedback. Just leave a comment below. Right, Larry?
Yeah, absolutely, Dan.
All right. Well, anything to plug before we get out of here?
Just dorkcourt.com and, talking about She-Hulk today like we did Star Trek. I don't know. Nothing really.
Okay. everybody watch Star Trek or She-Hulk, and maybe we'll if there's time on tomorrow's series Star Trek, we'll shoehorn in a little bit of She-Hulk.
Well, come on. Yes, we will, because she's a green girl. She-Hulk is obviously an Orion. Maybe there's
we need an Yvonne Craig Easter
maybe
egg.
there's a pun in there, something about it's not easy being green or something.
All right. Good. Let me work on that. Working on it. Okay, thanks. We'll see you guys next time.
Dan.
Around for the cameo. I'll see you next time, Larry. Thank you.
All right.
See you tomorrow at noon on the internet for Serious Star Trek.
Doc.